Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and whenever you are tuning into this video. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And welcome to another edition of Ruthless Talk.
Yes,
Happy
sir.
MLB opening day
Oh,
to
baby.
those who
Been waiting for
celebrate.
this.
Baseball season is here. Springtime is here. So shout out to everybody who are baseball fans. Frickin' Brian, I see you rocking the Baltimore Orioles shirt. My New York Mets are out of luck. They got rained out. They're postponed. Their opening day is tomorrow, but still, it should be a national holiday at this point. I think I've spewed that before.
Yeah,
This literally
right.
should be a national holiday.
I wish,
for people
man.
to
I wish.
celebrate. We all wish, man. We all wish. But happy MLB opening day. It's springtime. We got the Sweet 16 of March Madness starting today. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. We got games later on today. And now, of course, we're in the middle of WrestleMania season as we are now just 2 weeks. 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, from WrestleMania. Things are kicking into high gear. And this Saturday, we have our WrestleMania roundtable for this Saturday. So that episode will drop Saturday. So make sure you guys stay tuned for it. We got a bunch of amazing content creators that are going to join the show to talk the buildup of the show, to talk the match card, maybe make some predictions and everything else in between. So make sure you guys stay tuned for it. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Some new faces and also some old faces that I'm sure you guys have seen a time or two. But it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it, Brian. I know you're looking forward to it as well. As this will be our very first WrestleMania roundtable. There's going to be a lot because it's not just one night; it's freaking 2 nights. So there's going to be a lot to discuss and go over. So make sure you guys stay tuned. That episode will drop at some point on Saturday, March 30th. So stay tuned for all of that. So, ladies and gentlemen, today is going to be interesting because you're about to hear a lot of positivity, at least from me, because I know a lot of people don't really hear much positivity when it comes to reviewing Monday Night Raw, which is what we're going to get into. But dare I say, Brian, Monday Night Raw was damn freaking good this past Monday, man. This was honestly very surprising, I'm sure, to a lot of people, and how also consistent this show was. Not just, of course, with Cody Rhodes and The Rock, CM Punk and Drew, and we'll get into all of that, of course, and we'll dissect everything, but very taken back on how just very well this show was done. And hey, my small little golf clap, that's the little cold open for the start of this. So we're going to dive into it. There's a lot to go over, a lot of exciting stuff to go over. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear a lot of positivity, something that's pretty much the complete opposite of what you pretty much hear on these Monday Night Raw reviews. But so it's going to be one of those days. It's very rare, so enjoy it while you can. I'm just saying. So, by the way, I also want to ask a certain somebody. I want to LA Knight. How excited are you for this roundtable coming up? Are you excited for this roundtable? Let me hear it.
Absolutely.
Shout
out to everybody joining us, man. Yeah, can't wait. It's going to be fun, man.
It's going to be so much fun, man. Absolutely. Stay tuned. March 30th is when that episode drops. So without further ado, let's dive into the show. Before we get into Raw, before we get all into the good shit into the show, I got to start off with this, and that is with AEW. Look, after everything that transpired this past Monday, right? I had some time. I had some free time. I don't usually watch AEW Dynamite live, because I'm unable to. But I had time. I was home right before the show started. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch AEW Dynamite live. I'm sure what happened this past Monday on Raw, Tony Khan and this company's got to have something cooking, right? As freaking the wrestling fans would like to use that term, right? Tony Khan's he's got to have something cooking, right? And I pretty much, Brian, wasted 2 hours of my life that I'm probably never going to get back. Now, listen, here are at least somewhat positives I can maybe drag out with this. You got 2 really good wrestling matches. You got freaking Swerve Strickland and Konosuke Takeshita at the end of the night. And then you got Will Ospreay in his opening matchup. That's pretty much it. Outside of that, nothing got accomplished. Just nothing happened at all. No Wardlow in the show. You would think Wardlow would be brought up after he just had a world title match. Sounds pretty important, you would think, right? And he's nowhere to be freaking found. So no freaking Wardlow, right? You had a women's tag match that somewhat planted a seed, but it really wasn't much to really, sink your teeth into with Mercedes, with Willow, with Chris Statlander. And then you had a bunch of fucking tournament matches with the Young Bucks, with frickin' Private Party. And it's just like, I listen, Tony Khan doesn't seem he's going to learn at all, is he? Because it's just, I feel like I'm legit sounding like a broken record for just how the inconsistency of the show, because I spoke very highly about AEW from Big Business and what they could possibly build up towards AEW Dynasty that they got coming up. And here you are, right? Freaking WWE probably responded with one of their best shows, their best Monday Night Raw shows in quite some time, years. We're talking freaking years. And you'd think that this company's got to have something big for this show. Nothing. Yeah. Nothing happened, guys. If you want to see good wrestling, okay, there you got Will Ospreay in his opening match, and then you got Swerve Strickland in his match to close out the show with Konosuke Takeshita. You got no freaking Samoa Joe. Freaking everyone else just felt like a third wheel or just not important in the show. That's just what it is. It was just filler after filler after filler after filler. And I'm just sitting there this is why I speak the way I speak about AEW and their inconsistency, and just Tony Khan himself. They are just either way in over their head, or they just don't know what the fuck they're doing and how to branch out of their niche audience. And I don't know if this company is ever going to change, Brian, at this point, because we continue to say the exact same thing every single day, every single week, every single month, and still things still seem to be inconsistent, right? I talked about how the limousine shot from Big Business and how, oh snap, here comes a limousine arriving to the arena. There's suspense because, yes, for most of us hardcore wrestling fans, you know who that is. It's Mercedes. But on the other hand, if you're a casual, you don't know who the fuck that is. So that allows you to watch and see who is that person in the limousine that gains interest. So you have to see who the person is. And right away, we just start off with the Will Ospreay match. Went 20 fucking minutes. I mean, for fuck's sake. I mean, he's going to fight Bryan Danielson probably in the same amount of time, you would think, right? So what is that?
20, 30 minutes probably, yeah.
Maybe close to 30, right? But what is that? But like, what is that truly saying, right? Like 10 minutes? Okay, fine. 20 fucking minutes. Almost the first half an hour of this show, you have Will Ospreay show off his wrestling skills. Okay. And that's it. Mm-hmm. And like, we expected something with Don Callis, with the Don Callis family. He spent more time with Swerve Strickland in the main event than anything about Will Ospreay. This company is either so far in over their head, they're so in this shtick of just great wrestling match after great wrestling match after great wrestling match, and not evolving at all. And that's all I can say. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to really rant and rave that much because it's just disappointing. Like, I'm watching the show. I'm begging for this company to give me something. All right, cool. Great wrestling match. What else you got? They had nothing but straight filler, tournament matches, and just 2 hours of my life I'm just never going to get back. Brian, your quick thoughts, man, before we jump into Raw.
Yeah, just at this point, it's just the most frustrating part probably for me is like the inconsistency of AEW that it has just, I don't know, to me, it has just been pervasive for, if I could go back, I'd probably have to go back and actually sit down and really get the dates right. But, AEW has been a company for roughly 5 years now, going on 5 years or going on 6. I can't remember.
5+ years, somewhere around there.
5+ years. So there was a moment, at least for me, where probably about 9 months to a year in to maybe about a year and a half to the 2-year mark or somewhere in there. There was about a year and a half period where I felt AEW, if not better, was right there with WWE or damn close. And I mean, a lot of things have transpired right over the years, but the one thing that is maintained is just that inconsistency in the storytelling. In, like you said, you got Wardlow here, you've done the same shtick with this man at least 3 different times over the span of 5 years, where he's the muscle of some faction,
mm-hmm.
and then he just goes out to get screwed by that faction.
Yeah.
And then you, like you said, you have him on there challenging for the title, and then you don't see him for weeks.
Yeah.
So it's so inconsistent.
Yeah. Speaking of that faction, by the way, the Undisputed Kingdom, they lost a tournament match to the best friends. Like some fucking faction, bro. I mean, oh my god.
And even to the point of factions where you want to get to the Don Callis family, who,
right?
I mean, just as when Will Ospreay, debuted 3 weeks, a month ago now, whatever it was, you had him fight the match against Takeshita and then Fletcher.
Yep.
I mean, is that all that's in the Don Callis family? I don't even know. But then Callis seems to really be attached to Takeshita and not really have anything to do with Fletcher. It's just, it's all over the place and inconsistent. And that's, I don't know, man. It's kind of like one of those things where, like, and I'm not saying this really as an insult, but like, if you want to be like kind of playing like Dungeons and Dragons with your wrestling and connecting all these dots, you do you. But it's unnecessary to me, and it's so inconsistent that it's hard, man. Like, to get invested in these people, man, because fuck, I'm a huge fan of Wardlow. Like, this dude should have had a legit title reign at some point. Now, I know he's young in the business, green, whatever. Yeah, he had to learn, but if you haven't given him the time yet, because I don't know, he's too young, he hasn't learned the business or whatever, then why have you pushed him on 3 separate occasions into that picture if you don't think he's ready? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
This company just doesn't.
I think that's what separates WWE from AEW is that, like it, love it, like The Rock said, you like it or you love it or whatever. Most of the time, there is a consistency to WWE that is. Look, in my opinion, yes, they have a better creative team. Do they fumble the ball? Do they fail? Absolutely. But they have a better creative team, a better writing team. And in the overall scope of the picture, they are more consistent in what they give the audience. So, yeah.
Tony Khan, he reminds me of like Jerry Jones. The guy's trying to play like the owner. He's trying to play the general manager and the freaking head coach at the same time.
Right. Yep.
That's what at least like it comes across. It's just... And it's just disappointing at this. Like, I'm not even mad. I'm not even angry. I'm just disappointed, man.
Yeah,
like, I really am. It's just
because there is so many good talent, good wrestlers over there that really, really could really be stars in this company. And maybe just like, again, AEW, we've said this a bunch. AEW offers an alternative to where these wrestlers don't have to be on the road as much. And that's something to take into account with all of this is, hey, not everybody wants 300 days a year on the road and be away from your family, even if you are making 5-10 million, whatever. Not that, I mean, there's very few making 10 million, but
and no, for sure, it's just disappointing, man. The only thing that I would think that there was any substance involved in last night was probably Mercedes and the women from the tag. Like, there was, and
it wasn't even much. It was just like, it was just kind of see where it's going.
You can see where it's going, but nothing truly like evolved. But you can still see where it's going, and that's maybe the only thing that honestly caught my attention was something that maybe happened for maybe 90 to 60 seconds.
Right.
And that's it, man. In regards, like, this company, either they just don't want to learn, they just don't want to evolve, right? It's just they're comfortable when it comes to, because again, shout out to Savan, because he kind of said it best about Tony Khan. Listen, if it comes down to money and signing all these talents because he's worth $1 billion, then listen, Tony Khan is winning, right? Like, even though he's not technically winning, metrically, but he's not going to change unless he has all those billions and billions of dollars in his pockets.
Right.
And he can go out and get a Mercedes, a Will Ospreay, and continue to do the same shtick, freaking Okada as well. And like you said, man, there's just so much talent, including people like Will Ospreay, including freaking Okada and this shtick, which could be so freaking good. and they don't evolve and nothing gets accomplished most of the time. And it's really hard to connect with these people and just what they're doing, right?
Yeah,
we like and
it
respect
is.
these people,
Yeah.
right? We know who these people are, but I always say the same thing about Cody Rhodes. It's just like, yeah, we like Cody over this past year. He's still a big star. He's still a top star in the industry. But do you really care about the feud that he had with Brock because there was no story? Do you give a shit about him fighting the Judgment Day? Legit, this is a legit fact, 60 to 70 freaking times against all members of the Judgment Day. That's singles, tag, 6-man tag.
Right.
You don't give a shit, man. As much as you like Cody, like, you got to be honest with me. You don't give a shit what he's involved in. And you don't give a shit about 90% of this AEW roster and what they're doing. Maybe outside of Mercedes and all these women that are involved with the TBS championship, maybe that can evolve. I mean, that's got to start.
Toni Storm, again, we've shout out to her.
Toni
She's
Storm,
always doing her thing. Yeah.
I mean, that's Toni Storm alone,
right,
honestly, pretty much. So yeah, I mean, going back to, again, what you said, there's talent. There's a lot of talent here, but the talent can only do so much, man. That's just what it comes down to. And that's all I'm going to say. You guys know me. And again, in this company, it's just, I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just tired and I'm disappointed, bro. Listen, it's WrestleMania season. If that's how they want to respond after what was a huge and freaking jaw-dropping Monday Night Raw this past Monday, then whatever, man. There's only so much that I can freaking say into this microphone. So, but speaking of Monday Night Raw, let's just jump straight into it, man. There's a lot of good, juicy stuff in the show. And again, it's crazy that I'm saying those words because I'm so used to just coming onto this microphone in front of this camera and saying how inconsistent everything is and how everything's the same and nothing's evolving. It's WrestleMania season, but finally, at least for 1 week, we got the ball rolling for 1 week, and the consistent flow of the show was also a take back from the show as well, of how everything was able to just flow and everything. I want to start off with this before I get into the ladies for a second, right? And Brian, I say a lot of things when it comes to pro wrestling, a lot of things, but the one word that I always try to utter out on this microphone and in front of this camera, and that's the word captivate. Right? The definition of captivate, right? Like, what is it? And I have the definition right here, right? The definition of captivate: attract and hold interest and the attention of, right? That's captivate. Right. And you felt that a lot within the show because it's unfortunate, Brian, that, there's not a whole lot to be captivated by, especially in the world that we live in, right? Everything is just on to the next, right? It's like social media. Okay, cool. That looks interesting. Cool. Just scroll down and it's just on to the next. Oh, here's a really cool match, right? With Ricochet and Mustafa Ali or JD McDonough. And then it's just on to the frickin' next, right? Like, yeah, they captivate your attention for maybe 60 seconds, but then it's just on to the next. Okay, what's the bright, shiny new toy? But it's people like The Rock, and what he freaking did last night is what truly captivates your interest and your attention. Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, right? And even Seth Rollins. And I got some stuff to say about Seth Rollins in this promo and in this segment, but even Seth Rollins as well. The ladies, which we're about to get into, right? That's when it starts to truly feel like it's WrestleMania season, where you have stuff that has substance and it's not just empty words or just stuff that just doesn't really evolve. And that was just the main thing that really stuck out, is that there was a lot more to be captivated by than most Monday Night Raw shows. So what am I talking about? Well, let's dive into it. So you had the ladies. You had Rhea Ripley and you had Becky Lynch in a promo. You had Dirty Dom in there as well, right? People love Mommy, not so much Dirty Dom. But they're in face-to-face, and Rhea pretty much goes on, or Becky goes on to say, she calls out Rhea Ripley about not wrestling on Monday Night Raw much. And I thought, freaking brilliant, because, hey, she really doesn't. We give slack to Roman Reigns a lot, and then most of it's justified. It's a mixed bag, I would say, for the most part, because you want these people to feel special. But for the most part, if you're out for a certain amount of time and you're not wrestling majority at all, it's just like, okay, like, what are you doing, really? But yeah, Rhea Ripley, she doesn't wrestle a whole lot. And I feel like people don't really acknowledge, no pun intended, in regards to Rhea and the work, or at least the in-ring work, that she hasn't really brought into at least Monday Night Raw as of late. So I'm glad that there was some real substance with that in regards to what Becky was spewing there. And Rhea Ripley's response was great. She's like, listen, I don't need to wrestle every week to get people's attention. I can post a picture on Instagram and these freaks will eat it up, right? She did the whole freaking Rikishi freaking shtick on a live event.
Shout out to Shayna Baszler.
Shout out to Shayna Baszler too. That shit was funny. And freaking Nia Jax and everything at the live event. So Rhea's like, yeah, listen, I ain't got to wrestle to get these freaks' attention, right? All I got to show is maybe my body, my freaking how you doing, and I'm good to go, right? I'm freaking making good freaking moolah, right? So, and then Rhea Ripley then goes on to talk about her Becky's daughter. Your daughter is going to call me mommy, once I get done with you at WrestleMania. And that's when it really starts to like pick up steam. I'm like, okay, now there's substance here, right? Now this is getting really good. And Becky really gets aggravated. She's like, don't you ever bring up my daughter ever again. Listen, so my father never got to see the birth of my daughter. So this may be a joke to you, but it's not a joke to me, because if my father was here, he would know, or he would see how proud he would be of me, of the mother that I've become. So it may be a joke to you, Rhea, but it's not a joke to me. As it got really like, she's crying. She's like almost to tears. It was good, man. It was very, very good. And then both come face to face. They say more words. Dominik tries to get in the middle of it. And then out of nowhere, freaking Becky Lynch just sucker punches Dom.
She stuck that one too, man.
Right. She really did, bro. Freaking Dominik's jaw goes from freaking east to west, and he just drops where he stands. He's like, listen, I'm going to drop you first, and then I'm going after mommy. And that's what she does. And then the brawl is on. The exchange is on freaking Dominik, and then he also had some officials try to separate everybody to no avail. They continue to brawl up the rampway. Freaking Becky takes out Dominik again, and then they're freaking brawling up the rampway and everything. And hey, this is honestly, man, listen. And I wrote this in my notes, Brian. I was like, this segment was much, much needed. This was much needed because we've spoken about a lot about, listen, Becky and Rhea, it's a good match, but what is truly getting you excited about this match, right? We're 2 weeks left into Mania. They got to start now. If there's at any point in time, if there were a time to get us excited about this match, it's right now. And they did, man, because there wasn't any empty words. Right. There was substance in this promo. There was legit heat and animosity, not just a bunch of random words like you heard with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns this past freaking Friday on SmackDown. People want to blow that freaking promo out of proportion. Said like, oh, that promo was really good. No, it wasn't. They didn't say anything. They just said a bunch of random words. But this was good, man. It got personal. It got heated, right? There was legit like realism. Like, hey, like Rhea, like, Hugh, it's like you show off your ass on social media, but I bust my ass in this freaking ring. Like there's some realism to it and the animosity. And that's what makes a really good segment. And these ladies did tremendous. And hopefully they build this to next week. They got one more week left. But for what this week, and even Dominik, I'll give Dominik credit too, because he played a good part in this.
Yeah.
But overall, man, this was just much needed at the end of the day. That's the only thing I can really say. This segment was much needed for this match. So, Brian, your thoughts, man, about Rhea and Becky Lynch in this segment?
I thought it was a really good segment as well, man. And I've spoken here over the course of the last couple of weeks, and I'll tell you, man, now less than 2 weeks from less than 2 weeks from Mania. This match at Mania is the one where like I don't know who's coming out victorious. I mean, I thought for certain, Mommy was going to come out face and you could turn Becky heel, but just that promo last night where, she hits Dom and you really lean into the, she's a changed woman and a mom now. Now it's like, well, how can you turn her heel now? So, man, I think this is going to be good, and even for me, I'm excited in a good way. Like I hope Becky doesn't win, but I like the fact that I really don't know with this one, man. Like I don't know, because we all see it's time to kind of at least start turning Rhea face. I mean, it's just it's inevitable.
Yeah.
but yeah, so with Becky, does she stay face? And with the, I don't know. I'm very interested in it.
Yeah.
And I'm curious in a good way, just because I thought 3 weeks ago, man, this was, to me, it was like written on the wall, and now I don't know, man. I don't know how this is
Yeah.
gonna go, but
I
last
think it's
night's segment was good. Yeah,
absolutely, no, absolutely, 100%. I think it honestly it could come down to how the Judgment Day split ends up, because
yeah,
there's talks about Damian Priest could be the first one escorted out. Could it be maybe Rhea Ripley? So I think it comes down to
yeah,
how this split with the Judgment Day really ends up, is how the trajectory of Rhea, does she hold on to this championship, as well as for Becky. And because we talked about with Becky and Liv, and we were
mm-hmm.
assuming that freaking Liv was going to be inserted into this. It doesn't seem that way. It's just going to be straight up one-on-one now.
Right. Yep.
Is now Nia Jax and Liv Morgan are now just kind of out of the equation at this point. So yeah, it'll be interesting. You would think that Rhea Ripley, it just comes down to who needs this match more, right? It's just like, it's just that 50-50. It's like, who goes over, who doesn't, right? And I think it just comes down to who needs this victory more.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, right? Like those are situations to where when I dissect a match, right? Because like people want to play fantasy book and like, oh, how cool would it be to put this person and this person match? But question is, who goes over, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not always that easy. But I think for Rhea, man, I think she just needs this victory more.
I do too.
Especially because of how her title reign has been. And I think that this type of match, and again, if you add a little bit more substance into next week, because you still got another week left, that could really benefit Rhea Ripley. Because Becky Lynch, man, she's made. She doesn't need this accolade at all.
Yeah.
She doesn't need this world title. You can, and again, you can also make an argument to say, well, who else is believable to take this championship away from Rhea on the grandest stage that is WrestleMania? And yeah, so there's a discussion from both sides of the spectrum here. So it'll be interesting to see where they go in regards to, again, if I'm booking this, man, I'm having Rhea Ripley defend this championship, honestly. Yeah. And even if she is going to be a baby face, right? If she is going to turn face and fans want to keep cheering her, then why take the title off of her? If she's still the, you know what I'm saying? Like, why give it to Becky when she just doesn't need it? She just doesn't need that accolade at all. So yeah, if Rhea Ripley's going to be the baby face of the women's division, why take the title off of her if she's not going to be a heel continuously? Because you want the heels to drop that championship on the biggest stage, right? I talked about with Gunther, how Gunther should be dropping that championship for the Intercontinental title. There's nothing else that Gunther needs to do with that Intercontinental championship. Like, he's ready for the main event scene. So for Rhea Ripley, if she's going to be a babyface, why drop the title? Just have her continue to hold on to this title if she's going to be the babyface. But if she's still going to be portrayed as the heel, again, it depends on the Judgment Day split, Damian Priest, the briefcase, and all that stuff. Then there's a different conversation. So we'll see. But Brian, your final thoughts before we get to our next segment.
I'm just really looking forward to it now, man. Like I said, I guess last night has started to sway me a little bit. I mean, that interaction, because up until then, like I was saying, thought it could have been a triple threat or a fatal four-way. And now I really don't know. But I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah, we'll see in regards to it. But hey, much love to the ladies, man. That was a really good segment. Again, just much needed for both of these ladies in this match overall. So really good stuff for the most part. Alrighty, our second topic, we go into CM Punk. CM Punk, this was in the second hour of the show. And it's funny, right? I was thinking like, wait, they're not going to have CM Punk main event the show. I'm like, what could they possibly have for the end of the show? That was at least the heat of the moment before we knew what happened afterwards. So I'm like, okay, the second hour, I guess it's fine. I guess, I don't know, kind of weird. That was, again, just heat of the moment in regards to it. But Punk goes out there. Of course, it's Chicago. It's his homeland. So he's getting a good reception there. And he's on the microphone. He talks about, listen, a lot of people talk about me, right? There's people, freaking people like Roman Reigns. And he brought up Pat McAfee, and Roman Reigns was on the Pat McAfee show. Listen, it seems like Roman Reigns wants to bring up my name, is that, he's concerned that I'm moving my way up the ladder when I come back. So me and him are probably going to see each other very soon. So it's interesting in regards to that with Roman and maybe Punk in the future.
Yeah.
He's like, another person is Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, talked about Seth and their interactions and their history. Of course, the clothes that he wears, right? He's like, listen, there's one person that hasn't said a word about me, freaking The Rock. And he brought up an old line, freaking, he's like, listen, because, it's been 10 years. 10 years ago, he knew the reason why he doesn't want to bring up my name, because 10 years ago, he knew that his arms are just too short to box with God. I love that freaking line, man. So that was really cool. And then he brings up Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre's freaking music hits, and he waltzes his way out. Punk is like, turn this trash off, turn that music off. Nobody wants to hear that. And Drew McIntyre makes his way down to the ring. Just a really cool interaction, man. I was really looking forward to this interaction and how Drew McIntyre has just by himself has built this animosity alone. And now, like, this is just a taste, man, of what you are probably going to see once WrestleMania is over. And then so Drew McIntyre talks about his merchandise. He's about to take off one of his shirts, and Punk's screaming at, listen, I didn't need to put another man on a t-shirt just to sell it. And freaking Drew McIntyre responds with like, it's had a hard time getting my shirt off with my big biceps, something that you don't have to really worry about. Just really good zingers back and forth. It was really good. Drew McIntyre's like up on the freaking commentators table, and freaking Drew, he sits cross-legged. He's like, don't look up my freaking skirt, you pervert. Just great, man. It was just Drew McIntyre. I'm telling you, bro, like they were on it, man. They were really on it, both him and Punk. So Drew McIntyre calls, he's like, listen, man, I want to thank you. He's like, you're my amuse, man. Like, I go to the gym. It's like when I'm trying to get that extra rep, like I think about you, man. And I can pump up that last rep in the gym, right? All I can think about is CM Punk, right? And freaking, so he talks about how he just thanks him like, hey, like you motivate me to like get bigger and stronger because I just freaking hate your guts. Because when I think of you, I just want to lift heavier and clang and bang in the gym. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then Seth Rollins comes out, right? Freaking, CM Punk too. He was like, listen, he's like, why don't you come into the ring and speak into my good ear? But Drew's like, listen, you might have a weapon in the ring. I don't know what you got planned. And Punk just like flicks back onto the ring. It was just really good. I was really into this interaction. And then Seth Rollins comes out. So Seth Rollins comes out and he's like, listen, and he pretty much, and he holds his own in regards to, he says, listen, Punk, I haven't really thought about you since the last time we interacted together. I haven't really thought about you. He talks about how this is his show. This might be your city, but this is his show. And Punk is kind of like, he's like really begging for Rollins to really have him go at it. Right. And he does it. And he talks about, listen, I haven't really thought about you much and everything, but you still expected for Rollins to say something big. And he really didn't. He kind of just went kind of the simplistic route, like saying, hey, I've kind of almost forgotten about you, whatever. That's cool to a degree, but you were just expecting more. Like Drew McIntyre and Punk, they're throwing zingers at each other, and we're waiting for Rollins to give that zinger, that big splash. And he really didn't in regards to it. But still fine to a certain degree. Frickin' Drew McIntyre's at the commentary table. And these pretty much, they let these dudes just say whatever they want. And they pretty much also went overtime as well. And they just went out there and just, hey, go out there, speak your mind, do what you got to do pretty much. And then CM Punk finishes it off with this, as the whole gist was to get CM Punk on commentary for this matchup for the World Heavyweight Championship between Seth and Drew. I'm going to make you both interesting, right? I'm going to be on commentary, make you both interesting. And drops the mic, hit my music. And then Drew McIntyre's like, whoa, wait, no, you don't get to have the last word. And then Drew McIntyre enters the ring, says some more words to Punk. And then he's met with a super kick and then a stomp to Seth Rollins. And then that was pretty much the segment, as CM Punk was at the top of the rampway. Seth Rollins exits the ring, and he pretty much just walks past CM Punk. And that was your segment, man. So, Brian, I'll have you start, man, because I do have some thoughts in regards to it. A lot of good stuff, but another certain situation I want to point out. But I'll let you start, man. Your thoughts about Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins, and everybody involved with this segment.
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess I'm conflicted with it. Overall, I did like it. But man, we touched on it last week where, like, to me, it felt like, man, as far as promo wise, Punk cooks both of them. Like, even on live TV. I mean, I've liked, what Drew's been doing. And I don't know if he was like thrown off, but Drew, I don't know. To me, Drew did not seem like he seemed flustered the whole time. Like, and even down to like, we mentioned like when he first comes out, right? CM Punk says something to the effect of like, are you a Scottish warrior in a kilt, or are you something in a dress, a man in a dress, or something to that effect?
Yeah.
And then like Drew goes to immediately like, oh, you might get canceled there. And to me, I mean, I get the era we're living in, but Jesus Christ, man, like, all right. It just, to me, that kind of like brought it to a halt. And then later on, Punk says something, and I mean, I only think he said maybe like bitch and asshole. I mean, he wasn't like dropping F-bombs.
Yeah.
But then like right in the middle, like Drew interrupts, he's like, PG, brother. Like, what the
yeah.
I don't know, man. It just didn't.
He called them like dipshits or something like that. Like
Dipshits, yeah, something like that. Yeah. So to me, we spoke about it last week of like, especially with the language thing, like if you got Punk out here calling you dipshits and your response is to like, oh, you have small biceps, PG, brother. What? Especially with what he has been doing, because I have loved it. But last night, man, I don't know. It felt like to me, like from the jump, that I don't know, like that Punk got Drew flustered, and I don't know, again, there's Punk is maybe, especially in the last 10 to 15 years, maybe is one of the best guys that lives in that gray area of where does CM Punk end and where does Phil Brooks begin? You know what I mean? So when they're going this promo back and forth, and you they have animosity. I don't know, man. Something just felt off a little bit to me. And even to when CM Punk left the ring. Like, and we've seen that plenty of times, but just the way Drew got up there, like, no, you're not getting the last word. And Punk still continues to walk. It just, I don't know, man. Overall, it was okay. There's just something to me that just, it didn't click. Like Punk is talking reality, and these guys over here are still like PG. I don't know, man. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, from what I watched, I was honestly fine with Drew McIntyre and what he did. Could he have been better? Sure. The whole like PG thing, yeah, that's fair. The whole bicep thing, I thought it was kind of funny in regards to Drew. And listen, because you're right. It did feel like that this segment kind of came to a halt, but I don't really think it was from Drew. I feel like it was really from Seth Rollins, because we felt this animosity with Punk and Drew for a while.
Sure.
And it just seems like with Seth, right? And even with Seth, like, because again, Punk is like staring at him in the face, like begging for this dude to give him something.
Yeah.
And it seemed like really like Seth was like in the middle of the ring, and he's like really trying to gather his thoughts and what to say. And he kind of went that easy, simplistic route. And it just feels like that Seth Rollins and everything that he does right now with the bloodline or with Drew McIntyre, he just feels like that third wheel, if that makes sense, right? He's just the third wheel, and it's just, he feels very out of place in regards to it. But Jan, you're right. Freaking Punk, if we're talking about who won this promo battle, yeah, it's Punk. It's not even freaking close.
And not that Rollins and Punk was really any better. Like you said, it was kind of the same shtick. It just something didn't feel right, man. Yeah.
Regardless if it was either one of those two, like I feel like it was Seth. I know you feel like it was from Drew. Definitely something did feel off with all three of those guys being in there. And sometimes, like, you would rather just have maybe one of those two guys go at it with Punk. Maybe they would have felt more comfortable. Maybe it was the fact that they did go a little bit over time, and they gave them some extra time and gave them free range to speak on the microphone. Because here's what I will say, Brian. A lot of wrestlers in the back, right, and justified to a degree, right, they get upset about not getting the time, not getting, the TV time, not getting the opportunities. Well, here's Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. They got the opportunity with Punk. They gave you the opportunity to go out there, speak however you want to, right? Obviously, don't freaking go off the freaking rails of what you say.
Yeah.
And with F-bombs and all that stuff, maybe, just keep it somewhat, in the ballpark here. And with Seth and Drew, to a degree, it's very fair. They went the simplistic route, and it seemed like it was just Punk, and then there was just freaking Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. It's just like these wrestlers, they ask for these opportunities, right? They go after The Rock for freaking using profanity and all this other stuff that we hear about these, not just from the fans, but from the wrestlers. It's just like, well, freaking here's your opportunity. Like, open your mouth and freaking get creative of what you have to say. Think outside the box, right? People like Punk, people like The Rock can do that. And that's why we put these guys on such a high pedestal versus these wrestlers today, right? And that's why I've been speaking so highly about The Rock. It's because you put The Rock above everyone else because of what The Rock can do within 20 minutes of just doing a rock concert, right? Like, he's speaking on the microphone, he's putting on a performance, right? Not a lot of people can do that shit for 20 plus
You got to
minutes.
you got to think on your feet and fast and adjust to the crowd. And it's difficult.
And then people like, all right, you want this time? Well, here you freaking go. And now these wrestlers, they're struggling to find what they need to say. You can tell they're in deep thought, and it's like, it's not that easy as you'd claim it out to be, right? And that's why we speak so highly about Punk, about The Rock, and all these legends from yesterday, because they just have it, you know. And listen, Seth Rollins is a professional, right? He's a tremendous professional. Drew is too, to a degree. But then there's just people that are just above and beyond, larger than life, because they can just do it better, right? And that's just the reality. And maybe that's also a part of the reason why that fans can't really connect, because when you're given that a lot of time, like The Rock, like a lot of other wrestlers back in the day were, to get maybe 20 plus minutes, 15 to 20 plus minutes, they're out there in their deep thought. They don't know what to say. And they're almost at like a loss for words. And they just, once again, they go that simplistic route. And it's noticeable. It's very, very noticeable. Like, again, I'm looking at Seth. He's looking down. He's trying to like think of what he needs to say. Right. Even like what you said about Drew, that's very fair as well.
It was just for me, like whatever it was that wasn't connecting between both of them or all three of them. It was very noticeable to me. And again, I don't know, that could have all been a work. But it seems like, again, with CM Punk, that he lives in that gray area, man, where like,
no, I know.
Some of it's real, some of it's not,
Yeah, no, exactly. No, absolutely. And it's just, I don't know, man. But and I think the reason why it's just, I was fine with the whole Drew and Punk portion of it is that, like we've said, and I've even said it, there's just been a lot more animosity of what Drew McIntyre has done by himself. And I've praised Drew McIntyre a lot on his own, from thinking outside the box and going on social media and telling the story with Punk. And with Seth Rollins, because he's kind of just been a third wheel, it's just like, you're fighting against Drew at Mania, but the real story that's been being told right behind the scenes has been with CM Punk, right? And I think that's maybe a reason, like, people like me and maybe a lot of others just feel more of a connection with Drew and Punk than maybe they do with Rollins and Drew, or Rollins and CM Punk. And, who knows? They're going to probably revisit CM Punk.
Oh, all three of those will wrestle at
Rollins.
Different time. You're
going to see them all in one-on-one match. You're going to see Seth and Punk. You're going to see Punk and Drew McIntyre. So it's all going to happen. But I think that's the reason why it was probably just like, oh snap. Like, Drew McIntyre, he's talked all this shit. He's done all this shit in social media, and now they're like in the ring. So maybe that whole nostalgia, maybe, I guess you could say, kind of maybe blurred the lines in regards to of what maybe Drew possibly said and how maybe it kind of came across in a different way in that regard. But with Seth, man, and who knows with Seth, we talked about it with Seth, and like after Mania, he can get rid of all these fucking weird clothes that he's got on, and he can go back to just being Seth Rollins in regards to it. Because it just seems like, again, it's just like he doesn't really know what this character is, because he's still in these weird clothes, but he's also being just Seth Rollins, the person. And it just seems so weird to connect now. And now you put him in here with Drew and Punk, when the real animosity has been between those two. And your world champion, by the way, we forget that he's also a world champion. He just feels like the third wheel, and it's not good when he's the one freaking fighting a Mania against Drew. So who knows, man? And we talked about it with Mania. There are going to be some big spots, I'm sure, at Mania. Then there's going to be, you're going to have Drew McIntyre win that championship and go on to face Punk. Probably at SummerSlam would probably be the next big pay-per-view event that they would have that matchup at. So, but listen, I thought the segment overall, I thought by the time Seth Rollins got there, I thought it started to kind of get off the rails a little bit, and you kind of felt like things just weren't the same. But I thought the interaction with Punk and Drew was fine, man. But yeah, definitely Punk was the one laying in on Drew more than anything, as well as with Seth Rollins. He's like, listen, I'm going to do what you guys haven't been able to do, or what I've been able to do for the past 10 years. That's what's made you both interesting, just being on the microphone, right? He's like, listen, my leg, it's like my arm doesn't work. My body's injured, but my mouth works. It's like, shout out to April. She knows a little thing or two about that. So I thought that was funny at the start of the promo, but yeah, man. Listen, could it have been better? Sure. It definitely kind of went off the rails from time to time, but I think overall, I think it achieved what it needed to achieve in regards to everybody involved. Like Seth Rollins, he went the simplistic route, but it achieved what it needed to achieve. And, people are still pretty much interested in what Drew McIntyre and Punk do in the future. Maybe this is a learning lesson for McIntyre.
That's what I was
gonna do. Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to kind of say that is like, like we said, he's done all this stuff on social media on the past few weeks, and it's been great. Mm-hmm. But this is the first time, okay, now you're face-to-face in the ring or in the building together, live audience. Mm-hmm. And there was just a very big disparity to me. And just last night, and it's not that I'm saying, like, I think Drew can definitely rise to that level, but I think now you really got to, like, whatever, because Punk can't wrestle still for another 3-4 whatever months.
Yeah.
So all this stuff is just whatever happens is going to be promos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're going to have to learn how to hang with the guy over that course of over the next course a couple of months. So we'll see in regards to it. I think the segment I thought was fine overall. Definitely could have been better. Yeah. I think it was just the fact that all three of them were in the ring, and it definitely caused a certain type of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just things kind of just went off the rails a little bit in regards to it, but yeah, it was fine. It was fine overall. I'm still looking forward to Punk and freaking and Drew McIntyre by the time 100%. Drew McIntyre gets that world championship. And then with Seth, man, I mean, he's going to take time off when he loses this world title. It's just weird how everything that he does with the bloodline or with this whole world title situation, he just feels like the third wheel. Like there's Drew McIntyre and Punk. There's The Rock and Cody. There's Cody and Roman, and then there's just Seth Rollins. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that's just
it'll be interesting to see. I really am. If what we think is going to happen, and he does take time off, like when he comes back, I'm really interested to see how does he come back, face, heel, whatever character change or gimmick change or whatever. But because it's time for a change with him, like for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah, 100%. All right, y'all. It's time for our final topic of the show, and that is The Rock and Cody Rhodes. But let's start off the start of the show. Let's start off right at the top of the hour, which was Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes is out there with his smile, with his suit and all. But hey, he's a little bit edgier though, Brian, because he doesn't have the suit jacket. So a little bit of progress there. I'm not going to. So I'll take that. I'll take something in regards to it. So Cody Rhodes is out there, kind of started off a little weak. He was praising Pat McAfee and Michael Cole, and then all of a sudden, like, wait, what am I talking about? Oh, that's right, Roman Reigns. It's like this dude completely just lost train of thought, and I'm like, okay, like, what are we doing here? Again, not knowing what was going to happen later on in the show, but right away, I'm just like, this is going to be one of those Monday Night Raws, isn't it? We got Cody just doing. And like he also said right at the start of the I don't know how you feel about this, Brian, but right at the start of the promo, he's like, this is the point in time where, we're 2 weeks away and there's nothing much that really needs to be said at this point. Well, you got 2 more weeks. So what are you going to say, buddy? You still got 2 more weeks. Like, it's not like we're like, it's WrestleMania's this freaking Saturday. Like, you got 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
So that was just very odd. Just very odd. So the promo started off very weird, but then it started to pick up as it went on. Cody started to talk about, listen, I dress the way I dress, I talk the way I talk, because that's just who I am. I like freaking, he talked about how he accepted to be the best man at somebody's wedding. He's like, my wife asked me, he's like, do you know this person? He's like, no, I have no idea. It's like, but that's just what I do. Right. And then he starts to engage with the crowd and talk about Mania. He's like, listen, at WrestleMania, will you guys ride with me to Mania? Will you guys fight with me? Kind of like a group, like, like one of those like group activities, right?
Yeah,
Those group activities like in school or even like at work or whatever. That was pretty much what this was, like trying to really engage with the crowd. Like, hey, like, will you fight with me? I want you guys to point to the WrestleMania sign with me. So I like that. I like that little touch there. So it picked up as it went on. Cody Rhodes said a few more words, and then out of nowhere you hear, if you smell, and it's The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, unannounced, unadvertised. So the crowd loses their shit. Freaking Chicago loses their fucking minds. And in the words of Jim Ross, business just freaking picked up. The freaking, the lightning bolts, everything, that amazing freaking entrance that The Rock has. He comes out there with a smiling grin and everything. And they get to the ring and they just stare at each other for a good 2 to 3 minutes or whatever.
Felt like it, yeah.
Maybe 4 minutes if I want to stretch it out that far. And the crowd is just into it. They're freaking, they're chanting, "This is awesome," right? Freaking Chicago's into it. And then The Rock leans in to Cody and he whispers to him. He's like, "Tonight, you're gonna bleed." Right? If at the moment we didn't know what he said, but that's what he said to Cody. He's like, "Tonight, you're gonna bleed." And he, like, Cody Rhodes has like this confused look on his face. He's like, "What?" And then freaking Rock just takes off. And then that's when the crowd started to turn on Rock. He's like, "No, we wanted more." This is really good.
That's the brilliance of him, though. I'm telling you, I got yep.
Every time we want to say something just so odd about The Rock, and his actions just prove just what he is, and
he's better than all of anybody doing it right now. I mean, it really is. I mean, I'm not talking about, fucking, I'm sure Omega and Ospreay will wrestle circles around him, but as far as selling and being selling a product and your story, dude, that guy can change it up just like that.
Absolutely, bro, 100%. And that was pretty much the opening segment. And then we get to the main event. Main event was Jey Uso against Shinsuke Nakamura. And I'm thinking, like, something's got to happen because they can't end this. Now, here was my original thought, right? Before I get into actually what happened, this was my original thought of what's going to happen. Just thinking of the mind of what Triple H, Paul Levesque would do, right? They're going to have this match. The Bloodline's going to come out. Seth Rollins is going to come out. Maybe add a Drew McIntyre in there who was involved, and it's just going to be a circus fest. Jey Uso will pick up the W. Everybody's going to brawl, and then that's how we go off the air, maybe up the rampway or something.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking in the moment, right? That's how I'm thinking, because I'm not thinking that freaking The Rock is still in the building. I'm thinking the dude's still freaking long gone. So they have this matchup, and of course, what do you know? Jimmy and Solo, they come through the crowd, they get involved. And then down the rampway, you had Seth and Cody get involved, and then the freaking the brawl is outside of the ring. They start to go, I think Cody went after Jimmy up the rampway. Seth went after Solo to the barricade, and Drew McIntyre came out. He laid him out with a future shock onto the floor. And then Jey Uso picks up the W via a super kick and a spear. Again, Jey doing a fucking spear. I don't know. I'm just gonna let's just do the Uso splash and just be done. Why are you doing a spear anyway? You have a guy like Braun Breaker who's hopefully is going to be called up at some point too. This dude does a better freaking spear than anybody. Now this Jey Uso is
not Goldberg. Don't you say? No, I'm just fucking with you.
Oh, fucking Goldberg. Why did I think you were going to bring up Goldberg? I'm like, this dude's going to fucking bring up Goldberg too. As soon as Spears came up, I had a feeling that's where it was going. Right? That's funny. But yeah, on. Jey, moving on. Jey hits the spear, defeats Shinsuke. And yeah, so Jey is celebrating the ring, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, we got 7 minutes left in the show. I'm thinking, okay, they got something planned. Now I'm still thinking what I was originally thinking before. Like, here comes like the brawl, everyone's gonna get back into the ring, or maybe. But then I'm thinking, oh wait, Cody and Jimmy went backstage. Are they about to go see what? Are they gonna have a camera pandered backstage? And they did. And I was like, okay, great. Yes, love this. And this is, again, before I even thought The Rock was still in the building. I'm thinking, okay, great. Get away from the ring. Let's do a brawl. So freaking Jimmy and Cody are going at it backstage. Solo then got involved. I think freaking Jimmy hightailed it after that.
Yeah.
And then Cody was laying in on Solo. And then out of nowhere, you had The Rock freaking laid out, took out Cody Rhodes from behind. And he whooped this dude like a freaking dog, like he said he would. He freaking was throwing him against the freaking wall, dumped a toolbox on him, right? Talking massive shit, throwing trash cans in his freaking face. And it was just so good, man. And just like the mannerisms of what The Rock is doing, it wasn't about like the moves of what he was doing in the brawl. It was the shit talking that he was doing that just took this to another level. He's like, and then they go through the double doors. This was freaking great. The Rock then speaks into the camera. He's like, listen, The Rock's got your attention now, does he? You didn't think The Rock was going to say anything, like, you pieces of freaking USA Network blocks them out. And so, yeah, they go outside. It's freaking raining in Chicago. Freaking Cody Rhodes at this point, he's busted open. He's bleeding, like The Rock freaking promised that he was going to. And they really let this beatdown really drawn out, man. Like he's freaking, again, he's slapping him in the face. He's talking shit, right? He's talking about his mama Rhodes. He's chucking him in
custom belt.
Made that custom belt, right? And by the way, that wasn't written in freaking Sharpie with a freaking pen and a freaking Sharpie. That's freaking custom made, a custom made Mama Rose belt. I thought that was tremendous, but yeah. The Rock is tossing, just throwing him up against his tour bus, like Cody's tour bus. Like I said, he's busted open and everything. He's talking more shit and everything. He's like, listen, he's like, The Rock, you want to know why The Rock is the final boss? He thought for 1 second that this dude was, The Rock was going to let this dude talk trash and let him get away with it, right? He's just screaming into the camera, getting amplified. It was just awesome, man. It was really good. And he's like, and he approaches Cody, who's like, laying next to the tour bus. It's like, oh, look at this. This is perfect. This is great. Like just talking more shit, man. It was great. He's like punching him in the face, throwing him against the freaking the tour bus. It's like, this is what happens when you fuck with them, final boss. And then just, yeah, man. And then the beatdown concludes, and he's like, listen, Mama Rhodes, it didn't have to be this way. Right. And and he's like, look at your son. It didn't have to be this way. And the camera panders to Cody Rhodes, who's in a bloody mess with The Rock standing tall. And we go off the air. And that's Monday Night Raw. Holy shit, man. That was, if you want to talk about freaking left field with a hockey stick, that was it, man. Freaking just so freaking good. And I'm talking one of the best endings to a Monday Night Raw in the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Bar freaking none. But now here's what I will say. I'll make this short because, Brian, I do want to get your thoughts with this. So, listen, I know I speak a certain type of way about Triple H, right? And I hold this dude accountable because a lot of it's justified, right? I don't think that this dude has much of a creative bone in his body. I feel like he does a lot of things very similar to Vince. Something better than Vince, sure, but most of it is pretty similar to Vince and how the shows are constructed. But for one night only, man, for this entire show in full, I will give this dude some flowers. But here's what I will say. The segment that you saw last night between Cody and The Rock, you know who two people you can thank, Brian? You can thank The Rock and you can thank Brian Gerwitz. If you guys don't know who Brian Gerwitz is, he is an ex-WWE writer, and he's pretty much the head writer the head creative writer for The Rock, and he's pretty much taking control of this direction of The Rock, his character, and where it's going, because there is no freaking way, and I'm sorry, and maybe this is just how I feel about Triple H, because a lot of people are going to give Triple H all the credit, and I'm talking all of the credit, and yes, he deserves credit, but for that segment last night, man, you can thank The Rock and you can thank Brian. And that's it. Brian Gerwitz, man, who's a former WWE writer. I believe it was like 2015 to 2022. And it was just, listen, man, they probably brought Triple H back into his office. Like, listen, man, we gotta turn it up a notch, man. This is what we have planned to do. And Triple H, all he had to do was just to prove it. And they did that. So what you saw, man, yeah, you want to freaking praise Triple H to a certain degree? Sure. But for that segment, man, and it's been going on for a while now, that was all The Rock, and that was all Brian Gerwitz, man. So those are the masterminds. We talk about Roman Reigns a lot, how a lot of Roman Reigns' character work and what he's doing, a lot of it is also Paul Heyman behind the scenes, right?
Sure.
Not a lot of people talk about that too, about Paul Heyman.
Yep.
Brian Gerwitz and The Rock are the same exact thing with this segment, right? Again, Triple H, great job. For one freaking week, you finally did something right here. But let's not get it twisted, man. The real masterminds of this freaking segment were Brian Gerwitz and The Rock, because I want to give them their flowers because they freaking deserved it of how damn good the show was and how much life and captivation it brought to the show just from that ending alone and everything else as well. But that was just freaking, that's all I can say. Just a masterpiece, man. Brian, your thoughts, man. Talk to me. The Rock, Cody Rhodes, everything else as a whole. The floor is yours.
Dude, you nailed it, man. Like, and as far as The Rock goes and like Triple H and creative, look, Rock is somebody he's bigger than WWE. There's not nobody, whatever character direction or whatever, yes, Triple H is going to organize a show and put segments or whatever, but whatever character development, that's The Rock. Like, nobody's telling The Rock to go out there and be this or be that or whatever. That's the spot he's in because dude is bigger than WWE. But man, when I tell you, like, I am really, really liking this character, this presentation of The Rock, man. I mean, it's like, I really, once this run comes to an end and we see how it all pans out, or, however long, I'm going to go back and, take that, watch, his height in the Attitude Era and then compare it to this and watch him. And cause man, he's I like it. I really, really do. But yeah, man, I mean, just as far as him selling everything, selling the match, selling Cody's brand.
Yes. I made a TikTok about that, about how, like, because it shows you how great of a businessman this fucking guy is. Man. Like, he like there is no way for any solitary second that The Rock planned to get that shot. The Rock himself to get that shot of Cody's tour bus with American Vodka, Wheatley American Vodka behind him, like purposely getting that shot. Again, not just for WWE, but again, for Cody Rhodes. Like, he knows he's the sponsored athlete of that freaking brand, and he wanted to make sure that shot was in there. So people always say a bunch of bullshit about he's selfish and he's in business with himself. You don't know what you're talking about, man. It's just a bunch of BS. But yeah, continue.
And I'll even go back to that opening segment, man. Like, I really wonder, because of what he did whisper in his ear, you could, maybe it was scripted and planned that way, but when I'm talking about The Rock, like, being able to change it on a dime, like, he goes out there, listens to the response of the crowd, and doesn't say a word, not that we can hear, and you are left wanting more. You are left chanting his name. That's nobody else can do that. There's nobody you could put in there.
Yeah.
Whether it be a Brock Lesnar, a Drew McIntyre, a Seth Rollins, a CM Punk, maybe CM Punk, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Where you just go out there and have a couple minutes stare down, say nothing, walk out of the ring, and still have you captivated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And everything was also, the proof was in the pudding with just how this segment was, of like how The Rock is just like, he's talking his shit. He's talking directly to Mama Rose,
and referencing it back, like, oh, you thought, you were pissed because The Rock didn't say anything, Yeah.
Dude, it's just like he's on another hemisphere over and it shows, man. And to a degree, it's just because I can understand where people are coming from, to where, like, oh, with Roman Reigns, because like it's made Roman Reigns almost like an afterthought because of how good The Rock is doing selling all of this. And I think that's just the most, unfortunate thing, because you listen to that whole face to face, right? Like, all pretty much Roman said was, Cody, you're an idiot. You're a fool, right? Because that's all they have. They have nothing else, Brian, to tell this story. It's because it's funny how I say that, right? Because Dustin Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes, they got on social media and they were like, talking, or they were furious at The Rock. I think freaking Dustin was like, he's like, you son of a bitch, or something that he tweeted on social media. And I think Brandy Rhodes said something else in regards to it.
You think Dustin I don't know. I mean, I don't know his contract status. Do you think he shows up?
I don't know, man. I have to dig deep about that. But it's funny you mentioned, because I was just about to speak about Dustin, man. Dude, if there was any added layer for you to dive into Cody and Roman, dude, Dustin would be such a great freaking touch, man. And what you can do to tell the story with the Rhodes family, right? Like, make it actually feel like it's a family versus family situation, right? Even Brandy Rhodes, dude, imagine Brandy Rhodes and Paul Heyman in a fucking face-to-face. You would hear this shit, right? You would hear a bunch of this shit, right?
Who the hell told you tonight was open mic night, bitch?
Imagine that, bro. Freaking on a Monday Night Raw, you just hear that shit, man. Oh my god.
That would be, man. I don't know his contract status, but man, if Dustin could show up at Mania, however that plays out, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, no, Dustin would be such a great added layer into this, but unfortunately, he's in AEW, and we don't know what his contract situation is. In regards to it, man. But man, that would be something special. But hey, one can dream in regards to it. But but look, man, look, man, this is why I am very harsh, right? People say like, oh, you're so harsh, you're so negative. Why you're so negative? Well, it's because of moments and shows like this, man, is why I speak out and why I say what I say, man, because this company proves to you, right? If you have your ducks in a row, your resources in order, they can put on quality television for everybody, right? It's not about just liking something. We can all like something to a degree, but it's all about like, okay, this could be done. Imagine what this could be that's already good, and even make it better just by doing this and this and this, right? That's what it's about. That's what, since day one, I've always spewed about, to where this is $1 billion conglomerate company. If you don't think for 1 second this company can gather resources like you saw with LA Knight and AJ Styles in that whole freaking Brawl segment, they know how to put on good segments. They have the resources. They know what they're doing, but they refuse to because, they're financially stable right now. They're making a shit ton of money with the Saudi deals, with Netflix now coming up. And they're fat and they're rich and they're happy, like you said, Brian, for many times. And it just sucks that, and we just accept the bare minimum all the time. And again, there's nothing wrong with liking something, but to say that something is, because when it comes to wrestling and wrestling fans, we just blow things out of proportion way too much.
Sure.
Right? It gets to the point to where, like, okay, this match was, like, people say, oh, this match was great, match of the year. It was just a good match, man. Let's take a step back. It's just, but like, now what you could be getting from this company, right? Which you thought was really good television. Imagine if you had just a little bit of standards, right? Just a little bit of standard, right? And just a little bit of, not accepting what the WWE nostalgia gives you. That's what you can get. It's just, that's how much creativity and resources this company has. And wrestling fans today just don't see that because, they never saw what people like, in the 90s in the Attitude Era did, or even in the Ruthless Aggression era in the early 2000s, right? You have these new groups of fans that just didn't see it. They just don't get it in regards to it. They don't realize what this company could truly do if they really put the time, care, and effort to really make good television. And that's just where I'm at with this company. They know what they want to do, but they just refuse to do it because they're just lazy at times, and they'll just want to fill up the show, whether it's a tournament, whether it's some freaking who the hell knows, just acts like promo, match, promo, like that whole shtick that I always say. And yeah, like, this is what I've always said from the beginning, man. Imagine what you could be getting if you just raise the bar just a little bit, is that you actually have some accountability of what this company's doing. Because here's the reality, right? People say it too, and I'll let you finish it off, Brian, and let you get your final thoughts. It's just that people like, oh, like, why do you care so much about a television show, right? It's just a TV show, right? But people like, listen, if I'm putting my time, care, and effort outside of everything that I do on this podcast, right? Because your boy's a busy man, right? As well as you are, Brian. You got kids, and to quote Heath Slater,
I got
right?
Kids, man.
You got kids, man. Come on. We got freaking lives outside of pro wrestling. And if we're going to spend our hard-earned money and time investing into your product and you give us the freaking bare minimum and the short end of the stick, I don't give a fuck what I grade you. I don't give a fuck what I say about your show, because I'm the one putting in the quality time and effort of what I'm doing outside of this to watch your product. And if you're just giving me the bare minimum, then I don't give a shit of what type of feedback I give you. I don't.
Sure.
And that's just what it is, man, at the end of the day. But Brian, your thoughts on the show overall, and just overall thoughts in regards to the show and everything else.
I mean, just to speak to what you were saying, it just still boggles my mind a little bit, particularly with The Rock of, we haven't seen him in 25 years really in the ring, and he was back from my generation, but the last 20 years or so, right, he's the biggest action movie star and children's movies, all that. So when he came back, I mean, I was taken aback, as I'm sure himself and WWE was taken aback by the response that he got. And that's largely why you find us in the position that we are now, because it was a surprise that I don't know where all of a sudden that hate and animosity came for The Rock. I mean, I get wrestling fans, you think he's Hollywood now or whatever, maybe, I don't know, but again, that just says to me, you know nothing about him or the man's family, So that's all I'll say about this. But I do want to close, real quick with I don't want to close on a down note, but I'm from Maryland. I'm sure a lot of people have seen, the Key Bridge the other day. I mean, collapsed. There's people that have died, people that are, we're still looking for. So just my heart's with you guys in Maryland, and the families of those that died, and everybody impacted by it, man. That's just crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, very well said. Yeah, much thoughts and prayers to everybody in Maryland from that unfortunate event that took place. But very well said. But look, man, damn solid show. I don't know how many types of reviews you're going to get in regards to Monday Night Raw, but hey, freaking soak it in and enjoy it while you can with all this positivity. Real quick, I'm getting some word from The Rock. The Rock wants to say a few words to our people. Rock, is there anything you'd like to say after the segment you gave this past Monday?
What can I say except you're welcome?
Thank you, Rock. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you, bro. We
Absolutely.
appreciate you and what you're doing, because you, outside of Drew McIntyre and a few others, you, my man, are saving WrestleMania, and you are selling and you are building this pay-per-view on your fucking shoulders, and that will not go unnoticed at all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. This Saturday is the WrestleMania Roundtable, ladies and gentlemen, so make sure you guys stay tuned for it. All of our content creators that we have coming onto the platform will be giving their takes on the match card, on WrestleMania in general, the build-up, all of that stuff. It is going to be such a good time. Can't wait to meet all of these amazing content creators and people. Some of them have also been following the platform for quite some time now. They've asked to be on the show for quite some time. So, for those loyal fans, for those loyal people that have listened to us, we'll give you that love right back and to join the show and to get your takes in, man. So there'll be a lot of fun meeting everybody, and it's going to be a good time, man, for WrestleMania. WrestleMania is right around the corner.
Dude, when I say this is my best, I mean, springtime, it's coming back around. You got baseball, you got the tournament, and you got WrestleMania, man. Like this month, it's if I could stay in this month all year long, oh, bro.
I feel you, bro. Absolutely. Got the NBA playoffs coming up soon. So there's a lots to be excited about, both in sports and in professional wrestling. So make sure you guys stay tuned for the roundtable. That is March 30th of when that episode will drop. And of course, thank you guys for always tuning in. Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram and on TikTok. That is Ruthless_Talk. We are so close. I want to say we're like 5 followers away from 1,500 followers. So make sure you guys spread the word, and follow us on TikTok, damn it. Okay. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you to freaking follow. I'm just kidding. But make sure you guys follow and spread the word, join the community, join the platform. And of course, on Instagram as well. We're being close. I think we're somewhat close to around 1,200 followers as well on Instagram, on both platforms there. And of course, our Facebook page. Can't forget our Facebook page, our lovely members on our Facebook page. Make sure you guys join our Facebook group as well. And roundtable this Saturday, a lot of good content. We got, of course, we're going to review both WrestleMania's nights 1 and 2, and in addition of the good, the bad, and the ugly, all of that good stuff. So, yeah, man, a lot of juicy content coming your way. Can't wait to dive into it, and stay tuned for all that content to come. Brian, your thoughts, your final thoughts before we end the show.
Just really excited heading into WrestleMania. I think WWE is really on a good track here in the next week and a half. And yeah, really excited to meet everybody and discuss Mania with them tomorrow. Well, absolutely. We'll do it tomorrow, post it on Saturday, but
spoiler alert, we're doing it tomorrow, but you guys will see it on Saturday.
Right. So yeah, shout out to everybody, coming on and join us, man. I'd love to hear your thoughts and all that. And yeah, man, we'll just shoot the shit and talk Mania.
Absolutely. It's gotta be good shit, pal.
Good shit, pal.
That's right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. That's going to do it for today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And until next time, there will be a next time. Your boys are signing off saying salutes.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody. Yes.
If you can see the darkest side of me, no one would ever change the